There we go.
Oh. Oh, you're going to get the beginning. Hello, everyone. And welcome to this month's edition of Light of the Torch. My name is Candace Miles, but as you can see, I go by Coach C. I am the CEO and head leadership coach of No Gap Consulting, where I'm on a mission to help Black women who are stepping into leadership for the very first time build their confidence, the leadership skills, as well as their identity as they are stepping into a new role. But I'm not just a leadership coach, I am also too representing the millennials. And if you have been here, you already know what I'm about to say. Go ahead and hit me with that peace sign emoji in the chat. I need to see some peace sign emojis in the chat because I feel like I'm always the only one that is on here representing the millennials. But as you can see, I'm not here by myself. I am here with my lovely co-host, Cynthia. Hey, Cynthia.
Hello, hello. I'm so excited to jump right into the topic we have today. But before we go there, I will introduce myself as Cynthia Haley, and I go by TIP Energy Coach. And the TIP stands for Transition to Infinite Possibilities, where I am the Chief Energy Officer. Because at Transition to Infinite Possibilities, I focus on helping corporate professionals elevating their careers and elevating their energy. And we do that by way of interview coaching, leadership coaching, and just navigating some of the career challenges within the corporate spaces. And so I represent, let's see, I'm going to tell my age because I always forget. I represent the Gen X. And you might be wondering, why are they even calling out their generations? Because we bring two different perspectives. And oftentimes that gets lost in translation, especially in corporate America, and wanting to make sure we can understand how we think about certain situations and spaces and things of that nature. So we're bringing Gen X and we're bringing millennial perspectives. So if you have another generation out there, drop it in the chat and share your perspective with us also. So, Candace, what do we want to transition to next?
Well, before we transition into it,
Mm.
if you actually have not been here, Lighting the Torch, similar to what Cynthia said, is where we simply do exactly what the title of the chat is we light our torch from generation to generation, which is essentially the reason why we are saying what our generations are. Because we believe that lighting the torch goes both ways. It goes up and it goes down. In order to continue to grow, continue to do what it is that we do as leaders and in our careers. But Cynthia, I think we should go ahead and talk about what this title of this
Yes,
chat
because it
is for
is
today.
so, people have been anticipating this topic. And I want to say thank you to everyone who participated in the poll that was on LinkedIn and it was on Facebook. But I will share from LinkedIn, the poll asked the question around, why is it that you're loyal? So the topic of our conversation today is loyalty won't save you. How to rethink, reclaim, and reposition before it's too late. All right. And so the question is, what's keeping you back, right? About 40% of those that were polled said that they stayed out of fear of the unknown. 27% said they stayed for a relationship. 20% are still unsure why they're even staying. And then you have 13% that said they knew when exactly it was time to walk away. And so this kind of tells us that people aren't necessarily stuck in a role because they lack the skill or they lack the ability. They're stuck because of fear of, of the unknown, as a polling
Mhm.
state. Then there's attachment issues because you want to have these relationships. But what we want to highlight today is that these things are costing you. They're costing you the career that you desire for yourself. But before I go too far, and I want to pose a question to my lovely co-host here about the poll, but I do want to clarify something in that there is a difference between loyalty and what I'll call like commitment, right? Or being dedicated to an organization. And I think we need to
Mhm.
clear that up first.
Mm-hmm.
There's dedication because you were hired to do a job. You've been assigned work, and that's what you're hired to do. You bring value, you show up with excellence, and all those good things. But the loyalty we're talking about here is that blind loyalty where you're now stuck just doing the work because of these fears. You're not getting growth, you're not getting opportunity, but for whatever reason, you feel the need to be loyal. And that loyalty is making you um, be stuck in a role. There's stagnation in the role, there's lack of opportunity, there's lack of growth, there's lack of alignment. So, in organizations, there's that reciprocity that has to happen, right? You're dedicated, you're adding value, and in return, you should receive growth opportunities. And so we're going to talk about the loyalty piece that has you blind in a sense, right? Not so much the dedication and commitment, because yes, as leaders in organizations, you do want employees on your team who are going to be dedicated to the work. You hire them, you invest in them, you want them to be dedicated. But the watch
Mm-hmm.
out for you personally is being blindly loyal. And how is that costing you? And so, Candace, when you hear the statistics from the polling, just a simple poll out to our audience, what's something that stood out to you?
The fear, the unknown. That
How did
one,
that
and then
resonate?
because I feel like we all been there. Everybody has
Mm-hmm.
been there where you get complacent where you're at because it's comfortable. You've been doing it. It's something
Right.
that you can do honestly in your sleep, like they say, when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to it. That one stood out to me, and then the last one stood out to me. I think it said, if and correct me if I'm wrong, where it said that they knew. What was that last
When to
one?
walk away, when you knew when to walk away,
They
like you
knew.
just got
They
this
knew
that
when to.
intuition.
They knew when to walk away, and the reason why those two stuck out to me because I've been at both. I've
Mm-hmm.
been, fearful of I don't know what's gonna happen. However,
Right.
it got to the point where that last one where I was like, all right, it's time for
It's
me to
time.
move. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it always started with the fear, then it finally transitioned into, okay, I'm now comfortable knowing that I can walk away. And I can sit here and
Right.
tell 2 years ago. Yep, 2 years ago. I walked away with no job, no job. That was the first time ever. And that to me, it speaks volumes, especially being that I was in leadership, and for me to sit there and say, after being there for almost 5 years, like, I'm leaving and I'm leaving without a plan. That said, hey, I don't care. I'm choosing my peace. I am relinquishing this stress, even
Right.
though it's going to be a different type of stress, but there's also too a different level of peace that came about it. And so
Mm-hmm.
for me, both of those two resonated the most because I've been there and I can talk about it. And
Right.
I honestly would sit there and really gear people more towards that last option is like, you just got to take that step.
Yeah.
You
I
got to,
think
go off of
there's
that gut feeling.
there's going off the gut feeling, but there's also doing what's best for you in your situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what works for you might not work for the next person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so stepping out, and if you got a family that you got to provide for, or if you have other responsibilities, or you're a caretaker, or you're this or you're that, and you have these obligations, those are things that you do need to consider. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I'm a strong believer in you have to do what's best for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it may not always be what the other person to your left did or the person to your right
Yeah.
did. But you need to weigh those options. And then you need to also, like you said, consider your peace, consider your mindfulness, your own health and wellness, because all of these things, this loyalty, or being stuck for these different reasons comes at a cost. And one of the things that stood out to me when I thought about the loyalty concept is generational, right? It's very generational. You think about your boomers that are still in the workforce, your Gen X like me, there's this concept or this uh, way of thinking that you have to play by these rules and that you have to be in this organization for 20 years and retire there, no matter what it is, right? I can remember when I left a company, this was a long time ago, and I left the company for a promotable opportunity. And my parents were like, "Girl, don't you leave that job. Don't you leave that job. You hang in there. You stick it out." And I was like, "For what?" like no. This is what I work hard for. I work hard to get to the next level, and I have a great opportunity in front of me, and I'm not going to pass it up just to be loyal to this company.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is generational. And so what I say to my boomers and my Gen Xers is it's okay. It's okay. There is life outside of your current space. There are opportunities for growth outside your current space. If you're not getting the growth, if you're not getting the recognition, if you're not getting the opportunities to advance and do the things that you aspire to do, there's life outside of where you are, and it's okay to pivot. And there's just that quiet loyalty, I'll call it, with our generation that
Yeah.
creates career stagnation.
Yeah. It's so funny that you said that, because I was like, when I was thinking about this, our chat, I love some numbers. So I went and I started figuring out like the different percentages per generation. And we always talk about like the Gen Zers, the pros and cons of it. But really, they are the generation of the non-loyal. They are the non-loyal generation. They
It's
are
the microwave generation. They'll go. If that popcorn doesn't pop the way they expect it to, go switch
they
brands.
will go. It actually, in what I found, is that only 11% of the workers age 30 or younger would choose to remain loyal. Only 11% of that generation. And even going to my generation, we are the strategic job hoppers. I said, oh yes, we are. Because before I job hop, my first time is I was like, okay, let me get my degree. I already got the experience. I want to make sure I have this. And so when I came into my next job that I wanted, I was able, because I had the experience and I had the degree to back it up. Hey, I want you to pay me this because I'm no longer a newbie. And so even with that, but to talk about your generation, this one was surprising for me because it said that 55% of Gen Xers are contemplating career changes, because what you guys are now starting to realize is that through company loyalty pays, if realizing you guys are starting to realize that it doesn't anymore. Like there's an awakening that's happening
There
amongst that
is.
your generation,
There
where it's
definitely is. You know what I think triggered it too? COVID.
I was gonna say COVID.
I think there was an awakening during COVID, right? And you started to see, oh my God, there's this thing called flexibility. There's this thing called I can work from anywhere, right? And there became this ability to care for yourself or care for others and still work, right? Having that work-life balance, even I know that's debatable, but there was a level of balance that you could have, right? That worked for you and your lifestyle and still get the job done and still get paid, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there was a level of awakening, just even with that. Talk about data. I did also look at a survey that was done last year, 2024, CNBC survey that showed job switchers gained an average 7% pay increase,
I was gonna say that.
while those who stayed saw less than 3% growth. And so you think about that too. You don't know until you leave
Mm-hmm.
your worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you stay and you get these incremental increases every year. And then when you leave, it's like, whoa, I could get 10% more doing maybe even less than what I was doing before. Right.
Yeah.
And so that loyalty also has you financially stuck. And so, we say all this to say, just think about what's holding you back in a career. And it's okay to stay if that works for you. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
challenged and you feel like I want more for myself, I want to do something different. This isn't where I am destined to stay.
Yeah.
Then it's time to explore those options and get uncomfortable doing it.
Yeah. And it's just like the title. Like in our title, it's called Rethink, Reclaim,
Mm-hmm.
Reposition. And so to rethink, sometimes it does take you having to ask yourself that hard question.
Yep.
Sometimes it takes you to having to realize, like, really ask yourself, am I still happy?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I
What's
just going
holding
through
you
the
back?
motions? You know,
What's holding you? I'll
why
tell you
is it
one.
not?
Oh, sorry. I just
Oh
had this
no,
thought. Hey, right in
no,
my
I was
head
just
because
saying.
go ahead,
No,
finish
because
your
it's
thought,
like,
Candace.
no, because it's just like whatever it is, like you said, that's holding you back, you have to confront it, and you have
Right.
to believe that, okay, you know what, this is the reason why I'm not doing this. This is the reason why I'm not getting the life that I deserve. Let's just be there. Let's just be honest. Like when it comes to our careers, we work these jobs because we want to support a lifestyle that we want, but half of the time, majority of the US is paycheck to paycheck, because we're so
Mm-hmm.
content with, okay, well, I got hired at this amount and I'm okay with taking a 50 cent raise, in 2 years
Mm-hmm.
it'll be this,
Right.
versus,
Yep.
like you just said, with those numbers, the ones that are actually job switching, you
Mm-hmm.
can job switch, get a certification. AI is coming. Get a certification in
Mm-hmm.
AI. Google offers it for
Mm-hmm.
free,
Mm-hmm.
where you can put that on your LinkedIn, you can put that on your resume, that you are now AI certified. I guarantee your your
Your
value, your
worth
worth
goes.
will go up,
Yeah.
goes
Yeah.
up, because majority of Americans are clueless to AI. And they are also,
Mm-hmm.
too, what we talked about earlier, they're fearful of what it is. Like, oh, it's going to replace humans. No, it's actually here. Just like when the internet was introduced, this is just a different iteration that happens to be 2.0 of internet.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit more advanced.
Well, a little bit
But
more than that, but
one of the things that came to mind for me, I can remember talking to people who, in their heart of hearts, managers, that is, I'm talking specifically about people leaders, in their heart of hearts, they want to leave. They want to get a new opportunity. They want to get to the next level. But what's holding them back is not wanting to leave their teams. And
Mhm.
it's like, well, if I leave, man, who's going to look out for my team? Or if I leave, they're going to struggle. Or if I leave, they're going to feel like I abandoned them. And I would always counter that with, and if you stay, how is that going to make you feel? And it's like, I'm going to be miserable. It's not going to afford me the life I want for me and my family. Or, okay, so which one's more important? And the truth of the matter is, the teams that you have, like, I've managed hundreds of people at this stage in my career, right? And
Mhm.
many of them I still am connected with. So it's like, you don't lose the relationships with the people that real relationships, that is,
Yeah.
simply because
Yeah.
you leave the organization, right? And so that was one of the polling, 27% stayed out of relationships. And so you got to remember, I mean, heck, I just went to a bridal shower for a coworker for a company I used to work for, almost 15 years ago, but we're still
Mhm.
cool. We still had those relationships. And, for any people leader out there that's contemplating, but feeling shackled to the role because you feel like you will abandon your team, you got to ask yourself the hard questions. What is this costing me by staying? When are you going to put yourself first? You're going in
Mhm.
and day out, and you're putting everyone else above yourself. What is it costing you? You deserve more also. And you need to think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Because you so fixated on abandoning your team to you sacrifice abandoning yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
To what
you know,
cost?
to exactly what costs at that. Because
Mm-hmm.
I was contemplating on going there about this, but it's everywhere. It's everywhere right
Mm-hmm.
now. And what I'm talking about is that you see it all on social media, from LinkedIn to IG to TikTok, where everybody is sitting here talking about the 300,000, the 300,000 over the last 90 days of Black women who lost their jobs.
Right.
And
Real thing.
it's a real thing. It's unfortunate because the facts are the facts, and that's the one, like, and I went and I looked at it a little bit more thoroughly to see, like, which what generation, since that's what we were looking at. And it was mainly the ones that were 30. Look, hold on. Where's my planner?
She's like, let me get my numbers out so I can be
I said,
accurate.
let me make sure. It
Ah,
was 35 to 44 and 45 to 54.
I believe it
And
because I
it
know
had
a
went
few.
from, 4 point for 35 to 44-year-olds, it went from 4.6 to 6.5. And then from 45 to 54, 2.8 to 4.7. So yes, those numbers, but if you break it down even further, it's like, man, like, what are all these people sitting here thinking, like, right now, like, oh my gosh, was I too loyal to this
Mm-hmm.
organization? But I also see, like, on the flip side of it, the silver lining is this is opportunity. This is the greatest reclaiming for them to reposition
Mm-hmm.
themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know,
In so many ways. In so many
in
ways.
so many ways. Like, yeah, they may be feeling it right now, but there are so many ways for them to get that joy back, because nine
Right.
times 10, like, they might have been doing exactly what we're talking about, where they were
Staying.
just
Just
comfortable and
staying.
just staying, especially that because of that age range.
Yep.
And like we just talked about earlier, the loyalty, the way that certain generations, Gen X, wanted to stay there, like, have that loyalty for them. And then you have the millennials, where we got a piece of that, but we're also to
Mm.
a little bit of the Gen Z, where we're job hopping and job switching strategically, but we're doing that. And so I don't know. When I was sitting, as we're sitting here talking about this, I was thinking about that number, because it's everywhere, from
Mm-hmm.
Forbes to Black Enterprise. Like, anywhere that you look at, it's being reported about those numbers being astronomical. And the thing that people are just talking about is like, oh my gosh, and the negative piece of it. But let's flip it into the positive piece of it. This is a great repositioning. We don't know how many CEOs about to
Right.
be birthed from this. We don't know how many
Mm-hmm.
new VPs, SVP. We don't know if you can go to the next job and say, hey, I did XYZ, get my certification, like I just said, and now get even more than
Right.
what you were
Right.
doing, all because someone had to close that door on you.
Yeah. But it creates new
And
opportunities. And so what I would tell people in that position, or Hey, you don't know what tomorrow may bring, right? And so starting to challenge your way of thinking around like, what does my brand say about me outside of work? So often you're focused on what your brand is saying inside of the
Mm-hmm.
job, but what is your brand saying outside of work, right? Starting to cultivate the right relationships outside of your current workplace, whether that be connecting with old colleagues or whether that be networking with the new folks in your industry or in your profession, and
Mm-hmm.
thinking about, hey, what do people say about me? How do
Mm-hmm.
I want my brand to show up for me? And then the second thing that I would say to someone, feeling loyal but knowing they really want to do something different, that means you're successful, right? That means you've
Mm-hmm.
had some wins in your stint of your career. What are they?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What are
Mm-hmm.
those wins? What have you done? And then ask yourself, well, who knows about it? Because oftentimes, especially in my generation, right, it's quiet kept. It's like I'm
Mm-hmm.
just doing the job. I'm doing what I'm asked to do. I don't
Mm-hmm.
need to. I don't need to wear a badge of honor. But if you want what you want, somebody's going to need to know what you bring to the table. So
Yep.
whether you're communicating that where you're at, or if you're repositioning yourself for the next opportunity inside or outside, be prepared to share your value, not just
Yeah.
years of experience, because I was at X company for 15 years. Okay. And what?
But what did you do?
Right. So using this as a space, not to just say, I got to go, I got to do something, but starting to really reflect on what's my brand looking like and what do I bring to the table? What are those wins that I've
Mm-hmm.
had in my career that will represent me well in the next opportunity?
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Mhm.
I like to sit there and tell them, like, don't think about it in the way of sitting there saying, like, who will hire me?
Mhm.
And start thinking about what problem can I solve? Ooh, I can solve this problem. I can solve this
Exactly.
problem. I can do this
Mhm.
problem. Because then you start getting your confidence back. You start realizing like, oh, if using
I'm
Chat
a bad
GPT,
chick.
it put in there, find you assistant. I call mine Chatter, put it in there and simply sit there and say, like, using this is what I can do. How can I put this on my resume showing that, hey, this is how I solve a problem? And
Mhm.
it'll be different. It'll be different. It's different than the normal. These are my strengths. Here is what I can do. Here's my history. People don't care about that nowadays, especially with
But
the
even
evolution of the digitalized skill set that some companies are needing.
mhm. Don't miss out on your LinkedIn bio, right? Like, so we talk
That
about
part.
capturing these things on your resume. What does your bio say about you? Believe it or not, recruiters may be tapping into your bio and you don't even know it. What does it say about you? What is your brand? What have you been successful? What are you known for? How are you repositioning yourself? So I know there's like this, well, I don't really do LinkedIn, or I don't do social media. I don't believe in this, that, and the other, right? Okay, it's just like the lottery. If you're not in it, you're not going to have a chance at winning, right? And so if a recruiters are leveraging technology to source candidates, you need to
Mm-hmm.
make sure your profile is up to date and reflecting how you want it to look, right? And so, as we get ready to bring this to a close, there are a couple of things. Like we started with the title, how to rethink. Instead of saying, what if I fail? What does success look like for me? Then
Mm-hmm.
there's the reclaim. Get yourself back, get your confidence back, highlight those wins, know what you bring to the table, and then start to reposition yourself. Whether that reposition is, understanding your brand, whether that is networking with other people, whether that is updating your LinkedIn profile, begin to reposition your own narrative. you be the author of your own story and prepare to tell it in a way that's going to reflect a brand that's going to work for you. And you're no longer bound by this idea of being loyal to an organization. There she goes. My co-host has a lovely picture, but it seems like we had a slight technical glitch, but I got your back, darling. But nevertheless, I know we're right at time, but I really hope that folks can step away from this conversation feeling empowered, feeling like they can do more than what they're tasked at doing today, right? If you truly want more and you're not getting it where you're at, and you haven't, well, I won't say you haven't, but you've taken the steps to advocate for yourself where you're at. You've taken the steps to articulate your value where you're at, but you're not seeing the growth and the opportunities. But for whatever reason, you're sticking it out. The time is now to rethink that, to reclaim and reposition. So that's my thought. And I know we always close this out with the lighting the torch, but before I do that, Candace, any closing thoughts around this topic, or what you want folks to take away?
No, I think we covered a lot. Like it's just uh-oh, you froze on me. What'd you say? I
Oh,
want folks.
oh my, that you want folks to take away from this conversation.
No, I feel like we've covered a lot. It's just for me, just the practical piece of it. It's just really about taking some time for yourself, answering your question. Am I truly
Mm-hmm.
happy with where I'm at? Why am I
Right.
staying? And if you
Yeah.
need some guidance on that, go back to the quiz that is on LinkedIn, that is on Cynthia's Facebook page. Go back, save it on my page, but go back and answer that. Like figure out where you land on there.
Yeah.
And if you land on, okay, you know what, it's fear that's blocking me. Okay, then that means you need to do a little bit deeper work to figure out, okay, why is this so fearful for me, for it to be blocking
Mm,
me, for me believing in what I'm truly worth. And it doesn't necessarily always mean money.
right.
However,
Absolutely. Peace of mind.
you know, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily, if you're like, I could be richer if I have more peace and I'm less stressed out. I could be richer if I'm able to spend time with my family more. I could be richer if I'm able to go to the gym, give back to my community, whatever it is. Like you have to go back and rethink, okay, if I'm not happy, what would make me happy? And write those things down and then reverse engineer and figure out, okay, how do I get here? Because not all the
Mm-hmm.
time, it's not all about the salary. And I know it, I'm talking to my Gen Zers too right now, because y'all just think, oh, I just need to get the dollar. I need to get a
Mm-hmm.
salary that's here. Hey, you don't understand, those type of salaries requires a certain kind of responsibility and accountability that a
Right.
lot of you all are not ready for, when it comes to it. But
That's
sit here
another
and
that's
really,
another fireside
that's a
chat
different
topic.
topic. That's a different topic. But go,
Indeed.
because it's not just the money. It's not just the money. And if
Mm,
that's not something that you're striving for, but you just know that I need to be here to be comfortable, go for it. Find something that's going to give you whatever it is that you know that you're going to love, even if that means doing something that you used to love to do when you were a kid. A lot
right.
of times we get
Yeah.
away from the things that we love because we think, because we are now at this grown age of an adult, that this is what we have to have this imposter syndrome that we must act this way. Well, if I realized that I loved dancing as a young kid, even though I didn't do it professionally, I still love doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So implementing whatever that little childlike joy is in there, whether it's a hobby or whether it's something that you have a career. I was because I know we're at a time, but I was looking on LinkedIn the other day, and it was one of the guys that we used to work with. on his LinkedIn, and when I say that man looked like he's so joyful, and I know his, and I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but I'm like,
I
because he's
think
out
I
there
do.
where you're at.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, the event that he went to, it has celebrities and
Yep.
stuff there. And I just was like,
Mhm.
this person did not look like the person that was in my meetings, virtual meetings that I had. I
Right.
mean, totally
Get your
night and
joy
day.
back. Get your joy back. So if you're
Night,
still
night.
listening, and it's sorry, but I want to tell people, if you're still listening and you have been empowered to reclaim your purpose and your happiness and your joy and your peace,
Mm-hmm.
type reclaim in the chat. Let us know that the
Yes.
message resonated with you. Um, and definitely go from there. I was trying to think what my lighting the torch was going to be, because I really did not prepare that. And so if you're new and joining us, we light our torches at the end, where we want to make sure we have fed your soul, that you have something to take away from this message, and that you can light someone else's torch with this
Mm-hmm.
message also. And so while I still think, I'm gonna punt to you, Candace. What's your lighting the torch?
Um, I'll say this: the start and finish line, it starts at the same place. So wherever wherever you are, know that you started at that same line, that you can finish at that same line and start again at that same line. It's not too late for you to do it, no matter how old you are, or even how young
Mhm.
you are. What I feel like we always say how old you are, but no, it doesn't matter the age or anything like that.
I
But
know.
in order for you to rethink, reclaim, and reposition, you have to start and finish. You start and finish from the same line, and just remember that.
I like it. I like it. You made me think about, because I wasn't as prepared as I thought I was with this one, but you made me think about a story where I was at the doctor's office, the hospital for some work or what have you. And the old guy walked up to me, stranger, and he just looked at me and he said, "Be good to yourself." And I was like, "What?" This thing has stuck with me. It's been about a year now, and it has
Mm-hmm.
stuck with me ever since. And he said, "Be good to yourself." And
Mm-hmm.
so that just really hit my spirit based on what we're talking about. The end of At the end of the day, you have to choose you. And if what's happening now is not feeding your spirit, if it is not bringing you joy, if it's not giving you the growth in your career that you desire, it's not giving you the peace of mind, it's time to create that strategy, create that next opportunity for yourself. Start building the path. You don't have to wait. But at the end of the day, choose you and be good to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So hopefully you all found this inspiring. You found it hopeful as to wherever you're at in your career journey. No matter your generation, we hope that you will step away, rethink, reclaim, and reposition yourself before it's too late. All right. We'll do this again next month. Thank you all and have a good night.
Bye.